Welcome back to Wilson's Reviews, and today is a new video and another exciting chapter of Head to Head, which I go out of my way to review an original and a remake or a sequel. So today I've been given the challenge to compare the original Anaconda to the Anacondas movie, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. So, which one of these is the better one? My opinion. So, let's get down to it. Which one did I like better? Well, and there's a bit of a story to it, I guess. So, I can't just say which is my favorite, if I had to pick win out of, just my favorite, it would probably be the original. Just, I like that film a bit better than Anacondas. However, though, we're going to break them down and we're going to delve into which one is actually a bit more superior than the other. So, let's go with the whole thing. So, we're going to judge this by a whole bunch of things. We're going to judge it by cast, CGI, the story, and plot. The plot is going to be in a different section though. And the actual Anaconda itself, the soundtrack, and the locations they use in the film. Let's say action. So, let's get into it. So, which one does it feel like would win in a battle of wits? Which one is more superior? Let's go with the first one, the cast. Now, the cast of the original Anacondas movie had a very set good cast. It had Owen Wilson, it had Ice Cube, Jennifer Lopez, Jon Voight, who was very, very good at his role. It had a bunch of other casts as well that were very good in their roles. Now, the other film was a bit different. It didn't actually have a very well-known cast. So the new cast of the new film were Johnny Mesner, Katie Strickland, Carl June, Matthew Marsden, Eugene Bird, Nicholas Gonzalez, and Sally Richardson. So if you cared. So now the new cast. Way we're going to compare them is the strengths, the weaknesses, and just about their overall performance. So the strengths of the original had a lot of good things going for it. It had interesting characters, like the director of the whole documentary. It had Ice Cube, the cameraman. It had Jennifer Lopez, who was the producer. It had the host guy, who was pretty much their on-screen guy to talk about the documentary. Had a lot of other guys, like the sound guy, like Owen Wilson, and his love. And it had Jon Voight, who is an excellent villain in this, in my opinion. He does a very good job. He just knows how to get under your skin and just make you hate him. So, in that retrospect, I feel like Anaconda, the original, did really well. There were parts of their acting that weren't great, but I felt it was pretty solid. If you're going to compare it to Anacondas, where each of these characters aren't interesting, they don't seem to be giving you too much emotional weight, or too much at sometimes. Like, there are characters that are just going freaking out about the whole situation, and it was a bit over exaggerated, the emotions, the one of the guys in the Anacondas movie just freaks out and just has a full freak out moment in the movie, and they added the scene to the film, and that just felt a bit weird and annoying. So, and the villain, unfortunately, was just brought up at the last minute. The only interesting Bill, the boat guy, and I liked the assistant as well. She was interesting at some points, but she was quite neutral at a lot of times. She didn't have a lot of personality, except that she was obviously American. Okay, so the original gets the first point. Second point, CGI. Okay, we're not going to just delve into this. We'll just give the point to Anacondas, for their design and CGI was a lot better than the Anaconda film. However, though, I do feel like Anaconda did try and it was just dated a little bit with the CGI. But I felt like the animatronics definitely, if it was down to animatronics, Anaconda the original would have won over the newer film. But let's just give Anacondas the point. So that was just nice and quick. The story. Okay, the story. Now it delves down to which had a stronger story. So, my opinion, I liked Anaconda. Anacondas had a good story plot. However, well, not plot. We'll talk about the plot in later. But the story of it. They're going on an expedition to get this flower from Borneo to help cure cancer, and they're attacked by snakes, and they're trying to get out of the Bornean jungle, and yeah. The story it's a pretty simple story, and there's not much interest in that, like other than the blood orchid. It does interest you at some stages, like ooh, I wonder what this flower looks like, and I wonder if they will ever get this flower. Whereas the original had a lot more going for it due to it having like just the story of like them just simply just going on the Amazon, just filming a documentary about a tribe. Then later on in the film, it turns out that the John Voight character cons them all into allowing him to use their boat so he can catch his anaconda and try and get a lot of money for it. So he had his own agenda, and he was obviously just the bad guy. So in that retrospect, they were kind of screwed over, and they had to sort of deal with the anaconda. Whereas Anacondas sort of just chuck in Anacondas for the sake of it. So for storyline ways, the Anaconda doesn't really get much of a chance of a story, like, you know, except for the fact that they build in the plot that they've lived longer because of the blood orchid, supposedly. So, unfortunately, Anaconda will get this point again. So there's 2 for the Anaconda original and 1 for the Anacondas. So, the plot. Now, going down the plot, Anacondas did have a very interesting plot. Anaconda plot was interesting, but it was a bit forgotten. Like, it was forgotten. It was like, we're going to film this documentary. Then it is just replaced with, we're going to catch this snake, and we need to get away from this dude. And yeah, so obviously give the point to the Anacondas, just because their point wasn't forgotten. They always did remind everyone, the flower has to be caught. The flower has to be caught, just so we can do the research on it, and so we don't. This was all for nothing. So I like that how Anacondas was able to have that with their plot. Is that was like the main goal. Whereas in Anaconda, after like one dude got hurt, the main director got stung by a wasp. After their boat running out of fuel, and John Voight just being a total dick, they just wanted to get the hell out of there, and they just wanted to leave. So, and they just forgot about filming this documentary pretty much. So yeah, Anacondas gets that point. So it is 2 Anacondas and 2 Anaconda. So next is the Anaconda. Now, this is a harder point to judge. If you look at both designs are lacking. The color and the scales look a lot more nice in Anacondas, but also in Anaconda, it does look good at some stages. It does look like a real Anaconda, so you can't really knock it and say it's not that good. Even the CG moments are still quite good and well looked. It's just that what you don't like about it is that maybe the jaw of the Anaconda was a bit screwed up in Anacondas, and it looked different to like an Anaconda's jawline would be and a skull would be. And then in Anaconda, just the friggin' eyes of the Anaconda was just look incredibly crap. And I will give the sound design, Anacondas, the sound design, they did a lot better in sound design for their snake. Whereas in Anaconda, it just had this screeching sound, like it was just like, it would have been better if they just let it hiss really loud. So yeah, I'm going to give it a draw on that one. I can't really know for a clear winner on that. Soundtrack. Okay, this is a pretty quick one. Okay, the soundtrack to the original is better. It just has that more feel of being lost in the Amazon jungle, which you would assume where these anacondas are, and it just felt right. Like the soundtrack felt right to compare to the Anacondas one. Anacondas one, I didn't really remember that much. I didn't really have that one that just I like. Like I said, it could have gone either way because neither one was really memorable. But if I had to really be picky, Anaconda did better, so I'll give the Anaconda the point. Okay, so that's free Anaconda and Anacondas 2. Okay, next, the location. Now, both of which did their best in locations for the film, and both came up pretty well. Anaconda filmed a lot in the Amazon jungle, whereas in Anacondas, it was filmed in various locations. Like there were some scenes filmed in New Zealand, there was a lot of scenes filmed in Malaysia, and all these other different places they went. So, where do we go from here? Unfortunately, that is also a draw, so that will have to also go back, giving back. So it is still a free two-way to each member. To Anaconda. And finally, the action. Action for both films. Okay, in Anaconda, the action is apparent. You definitely get to see this Anaconda at work, and it is just wrecking these things. Whether it's the start of the film where Danny Trejo's character gets attacked by an anaconda, to guys just getting murdered by this anaconda, to Anacondas where the action is really cool, like the boat scene and just some of the anaconda attacks is pretty cool. But when you just really bring it down to it, in action, like I don't really know which one really would have won. I did like Anaconda a lot more than Anacondas because Anaconda had more of the psychology in the movements of the anaconda done more right than in Anacondas. Anacondas was a bit mixed, and they just sort of went loose with it and just went and made it a little bit silly and cartoony. So I was gonna give it a draw, but I might give the extra point to Anaconda. So guys, the winner of our today's head-to-head clash is Anaconda, the original. So it wins by, like I said, you could go either way. Like Anacondas, I didn't really like that much of a film in story-wise, but there are a lot of good elements to it. But Anaconda beats it just because it had a more simpler storyline. The Anaconda was like a feature in it instead of like an add-on. Like he was actually in the movie and he was a main feature. Like that was like the plot was focused around this anaconda at many times, whereas in Anacondas it's just sort of a part of the plot. And that's about it. The main plot was trying to get this flower or get away from Borneo. So yeah, thank you again guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this review. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to be releasing a few more videos over the weekend, such as possibly my BFG review. Hope I can get that done. And also my TV review of Easy. So I'm going to prepare that. That will probably most likely be my next video. So until then, stay tuned and thank you for your support. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to. Thank you guys. Cheers.